Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Spencer TCG here with Secrets of Power limited review guide for all the yellow cards. If you guys are tuning into my channel for the first time, here is a quick look over of my tier list. So A and B cards, those are your really strong cards, the ones that you want to include in your deck. The A ones are going to make you want to switch over to that color. Your C cards are just your average 2 3s, 3 2s are your playables. You put them in your deck. While you're not excited about them, they are what is the bulk of your deck. Your D and F cards are things that we're trying to cut, we're trying to get rid of. Maybe their effects are a little bit too niche, or they're just straight up terrible like most upgrades. Without further ado, let's get started with the video. So first up, we have Slymore, and Slymore is actually the only villain bad guy that we have. She deploys on 5 resources. She's a 3/6 Force Imperial Official that says on attack, you may deal 2 damage to an exhausted unit. She also has the ability to pay 1 if there are 4 or more exhausted units in play. Create a spy token. All right, cool. Let's talk about her leader side first. Now she's missing at least 1 stat. Ideally, I'd like to get a 4/6 on 5 resources, but she comes with a pretty impactful effect of being able to do 2 damage. Unluckily, it's just for exhausted units, but nonetheless, a leader that comes in that can, kill 2 things, as you guys see, like in Mother Talzin, or just, I can go face and pick off another unit. That's going to feel really good. I like getting that value out of my leader. On the other side, I don't know how often we're going to be able to use her effect, but keep in mind that it's both players' boards, and units come into play exhausted and people swing with their units. So units will be exhausted. I think that you are very likely to not have the initiative if you choose to use her ability throughout the game. So just keep that in mind. But creating a dude for one resource is pretty fine. Spy tokens, if you guys don't know, are 0/2s with raid 2. Overall, this card seems pretty fine. I'm going to up its rating, though, to a B because it is the only playable yellow-black leader that there is in the entire set, because the other yellow-black leader got replaced with DJ. So she's just going to have a little bit more value than normal, because if you have really good yellow pool, and as we'll get into later, the yellow cards in the set are pretty strong for limited overall, especially in the class colors. And I think they're a little bit stronger because, they got screwed a little bit here by missing an entire extra leader. So yeah, we're gonna give her a solid B. I like that she does damage. I like that she can create units. But again, I think this rating is bumped up just a little bit because she doesn't have anyone to be compared with in yellow. Next up, we have DJ. I'm putting him with the black cards just to talk about a second leader. This is the first, double colored leader that they've created. He deploys on 6, is a 4/6 with Saboteur that says friendly units that are rescued enter play ready. A pretty irrelevant effect, except for his, non-leader side that says you can turn him sideways, choose a friendly unit. If you do, play a unit from your hand, and it costs 1 less, but then the unit that you just chose is going to capture the unit that you just played. He has a really weird effect, some weird synergies that can be done with him, especially in constructed. However, missing an entire aspect is pretty huge, especially since there's only 1 double yellow card in the entire set, and it might even be a legendary, so it's really not doing him any favors. I don't think you want to restrict your deck this much, especially since the bad guys and good guys tend to be the best or better cards in a limited environment. Because of this, DJ is going to receive the sad rating of an F. I don't think you want your deck restrictions that big. He also just has bad stats and a pretty irrelevant effect. So moving on, we got the bad guy cards, right? ISB Agent. We've seen this one before, is a 1-costed 1/3 Imperial Ground unit that says when played, you may reveal an event from your hand. If you do, deal 1 damage to a unit. So how many events do we have in our hand at any given time? Hopefully not that many, because my deck should be mostly units. But let's just say I do a damage. I think most of the time I'd rather just be playing like a 2-mana 2/3 or 2/4 or 2/5 if there were one in this set. So his effect is not that exciting. Where I can see him, slotting in more is in a little bit more aggressive deck where you want to go double 1-drop, or maybe like you know, you're a very control style deck and you slot him in a later turn just to pick off a unit, and you know that you're going to have more events in your deck. I think in a sealed environment, this card's like a D minus. I don't think I want him in my deck most of the time. I think, you know, if you draft a lot of events or you're playing an aggro 1-drop deck that has events, keyword events here, then, you know, he probably goes up into the playable range somewhere in the C, but probably still not that exciting and probably like a C minus. There's just not enough synergy for this guy in this set. Next up, we have Screeching TIE Fighter, is a 1-costed 2/1 space unit, Empirical Vehicle Fighter, that says on attack, you may choose a ground unit. If you do, it loses its keywords. I don't know how impactful that will be of making ground units lose their keywords, but a 1-mana 2/1 in space is totally fine as long as we're an aggro deck. Otherwise, as I've said this in my previous videos, on turn 1, you want to play a 2-drop. The only time you want to play double 1-drops is if we're an aggro deck, right? And then we need a lot of 1-drops. So yeah, on its plus side, this is a space unit with 2 attack. So it wouldn't even be the worst turn 1 play if it was our only card. And for that, I'm going to give it like a D. It's definitely cuttable, but sometimes if you want, you know, a turn 1 play, this is just going to be the best thing you got. On the draft side, if we're making a incredibly aggressive deck filled with a bunch of 1-drops, this card's going to go all the way up to like a C plus B minus, where it's going to feel vital, right? You just need as many 1-drops as you can, and, you know, 2 attack in space on turn 1. Just, you know, play a bunch of these and you're going to feel really, really good. Next up, we have Garandon, is a 2-costed 1/3 Underworld ground unit information broker. It says, when played, name a card, look at an opponent's hand, and discard a card with that name from it. Also has plot. I think it's going to be pretty unlikely that you guess what card is in your opponent's hand unless you've recently seen it. So I'm just going to pretend that this guy is a 2-mana 1/3, and that's very bad. I don't want to be playing 2-mana 1/3s. We just saw a 1-mana 1/3 with an additional effect. Even if I'm plotting this guy out, I'm probably not naming the right card, and you know, even if I do, like, do I really want to spend 2 resources for that? I guess if I shut down my whole opponent's turn and my opponent accidentally flashed me as 5-drop and it's turn 5, I'm like, haha. But again, I'd rather just play my 5-drop because it's better than his because I made a good deck. I really don't like this card. I'm going to give it an F. It's much more interesting in Constructed. Next up, we have General Grievous, is a 2-costed 3/3 ground unit, Separatist official, has hidden, which means it can't be attacked the turn you play it, which is very relevant on him because it says, when this unit is attacked, return him to your hand before damage is dealt. Super interesting. So obviously, if they attack it, you replay it that turn. They can't attack it again. So, you know, maybe you can claim initiative and then hit him for 3. The problem I see with this card is he kind of sort of gets value traded into any turn 1 play my opponent wants. We both play our 2-drop. Maybe I get 3 damage off the Grievous, but then my opponent just attacks it and it's dead in my hand. And I probably don't want to replay him. I probably want to play my 3-drop. And on turn 4, I probably want to play my 4-drop. Now on 4 resources, if I have double 2-drop, I guess he's okay. But again, my opponent can just commit their turn 1 play to, again, bouncing this back, and at no cost to them, unless my 3 resource turn killed their 2 resource turn. And then, you know, what am I really doing with my game here? I don't really like him. I think he's a super interesting effect. I think he's probably a little bit better in the later stages of the game when you play it alongside something else and you just are kind of making your opponent swing into this to avoid taking 3. I think that's a little bit more interesting to me. Because of, like, you know, these interesting interactions, I think he's like a D+, but I can find myself cutting this card more than I want in my deck. Next up, we have Darth Treya. She is a 3-costed 2/5 Sith unit that says, on attack, you may ready a non-unit leader. This card is a legendary, so you're not going to see it very often, and I think she's pretty good. I mean, she's missing 1 stat, but she has a very strong effect of being able to ready anything else on your field besides your leader, and that's really good. I doubt they kill her the turn you play her, and that means you can, you know, probably play your 4 resource card, attack with her, and then untap with your 4 resource card. So she's immediately giving value to a future card you play. She can also just untap anything you've played before, and, you know, this can happen over and over again, making her an immediate threat for your opponent. Otherwise, all your cards are going to come in unexhausted, which is broken. This card is very strong, in my opinion. I think she is approaching the A, but I'm going to give her a B+. Maybe, you know what? I'm gonna give her the A minus. I think she makes it there. I think if you see this card, you're gonna very much want to be yellow black. I think that's what differentiates an A for me, is that you see the card and you're like, hey, I really should think about either switching into this color or just trying to play her. I think her effect is that strong. Untapping dudes is good. All right. Next up, we have Lurking Subfighter is a 3-costed 2/3. So bad stats, but it says when played, you may exhaust a unit, and it has plot. Obviously, exhausting a unit for a whole extra mana on a dude is kind of whatever. I still rather just be playing a 3-costed 3/4. Playing this card on curve and exhausting a unit, I think is pretty bad, because I don't think we should care about exhausting our opponent's turn 1 play. Not really at all. That's not really going to help us win the race when we just played a card with 2 attack and my opponent could have played one with 4. Now this card does have plot, so I think that's a little interesting. If my opponent flips their leader and then I flip mine and then I exhaust their leader, I'm getting a lot more value out of this. But I'd only like that if I'm playing another plot card alongside. Like if this is eating up my turn, then I'm very, very sad. Outside of plotting this card, it's probably like a D minus. Like, I guess I'll play it if I have to, but I don't really want to, and I'll probably cut it. When I'm able to plot this alongside something else, I think it goes into like a CC+. So it really still not even that good. At the end of the day, this card is probably just going to stay in the D tier. I'm going to cut this card more than I want to play it. And like I said, even if you're low on plot cards and you're like, hey, I just want a plot card in my deck, like that's not even that enticing for this guy, because it's best alongside more plot cards. Next up, we have Soulless One is a 3-costed 3/3 space unit, swift and agile. On attack, Separatist Vehicle Fighter unit. On attack, you may disclose yellow, yellow, black, which means show your opponent, these aspects. And if you do, ready 2 resources. How good is readying 2 resources? I don't think it's relevant at all. Obviously, if you're the only one and only yellow-black leader, you're going to gain one of those resources that you could use to summon a spy token. So I guess that's where it's relevant. But other than that, I don't see myself revealing at least 2 cards in my hand, and then with those 2 resources playing them. If I'm a super aggro deck with a ton of 1-drops and I double 1-drop turn 1, it's a lot less likely that I have all these cards, but maybe I do. At the end of the day, though, it's still a 3-mana 3/3 in space, which is totally fine. It gets outclassed by some things, and you will get value traded sometimes. So this is not the ideal unit, but I think it barely makes the playable tier of a C minus, just because it does do something, but it's not that great. Next up, we have Trade Federation Delegates is a 5-costed 3/4 ground unit Republic official that says when played, create 2 spy tokens. So if we're pretending spy tokens never have any attack value, this card comes out as a 3/8 worth of stats, but when my spies do get to attack, then all of a sudden we're like, boop, 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 it's a 7/8 worth of stats on 5 resources, and it creates 3 bodies. That's a lot of friction on my board. I really like this card, and it's a common. You're going to see it all the time. I think this is going to be one of the better cards in your deck. It also creates 3 dudes for Slimemore's effect, which is great. So I'm going to give this card a B. I think it's pretty solid. 3 bodies for 1 card. It turns out to be good. Next up, we have Grand Moff Tarkin. Is a 6-costed 2/6 Imperial Official ground unit that says when played, take control of an enemy non-leader vehicle unit. When this unit leaves play, that unit's owner take control of that unit. So I like the 6 health for that effect, but I don't like the 2 attack because it costs 6. I think this card out of the main board is pretty bad. You're unsure if your opponent's even going to play a space unit, and you never want to play a 6-resource 2/6, you'll just instantly lose the game. Now, out of the sideboard, if our opponent has, really good vehicle units, and I'm seeing that I don't really have answers for them, or I notice my opponent just likes playing vehicles and upgrading them for some reason, well, then, I might as well see if I can get him with this card. I feel like it's kind of a gotcha card. So in the sideboard, this card might even, make it up to the B tier if you're able to steal something. I feel like that's really, really good, but it's literally a straight up F in the main deck, in my opinion, because it's too unreliable. I don't even know if my opponent is going to play a vehicle at all. Yes, I guess it can capture ground vehicle units, but those are usually very low stats, but I don't know. Anyway, not my favorite card. Next up, we have Grand Admiral Thrawn is a 7-costed 8/7 Imperial Official legendary unit, so you won't see it that often. On the ground, when played, an opponent may choose a non-leader unit they control. If they do, this unit captures that unit. If they don't, this guy comes in ready. And when defeated, a friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. Cool, so he has a relevant when defeated effect and definitely a relevant when played effect. You're either removing a threat temporarily or getting 8 damage in if my opponent can't deal with this in one action. That's pretty solid. I think it adds a lot of friction to the board. I think it's a great finisher. And even if my opponent does have the answer for it, he still has another effect as long as I have anything on the board. That's very, very frictiony to me. I like this card a lot. I think if you open it, you're going to want to try to be yellow-black. Now, it does cost 7, but still, I think I would start getting skewed towards that color, and I'm going to give this an A-. So now I've already given 2 yellow-black cards an A-, which I think is the first time in any color for this set. So keep an eye out on that. Obviously, they're both legendaries, but you know there are cards that can really draw people into this color. But even though it's probably going to be a supporting color, since there is only one leader, they have to get that leader somehow. Next up, we have fully armed and operational. If an opponent, it's a 1-costed event. If an opponent attacked your base during their previous action this phase, play a unit from your hand, give it ambush for this phase, and it has plot. That's a super specific effect. Paying 1 to give something in your hand ambush is not that great, mostly because it costs 2 cards. It's like a 2-card combo. I most of the time rather just be playing stuff on curve. The fact that this card has plot, you know, makes it a little bit better, but it still has that condition of my opponent needing to attack my base. And what if my opponent just does it? What if they're just trading with my guys and I'm like, well, I need to flip my leader now, and now this card is just in your deck. You had to resource it because it had plot, and now it actually just does nothing. I think this card qualifies exactly for what niche means, and I think it's too niche. So I'm going to give this card an F. Maybe I'll get some flack for that, but you know, at the best, I can see it being a D, but it's not great, guys. I would avoid this card. Next up, we have Arrest. It is a 2-costed event. Your base captures an enemy non-leader unit. At the start of the regroup phase, its owner rescues it. I don't really like this card in the main board. I think if your opponent is playing a lot of upgrades and you have problems dealing with really big units with upgrades because, I don't know, your pool just had literally 0 removal, you know, here's removal. I think if you're a really aggressive deck and your opponent plays a big Sentinel and spends all the resources for it in the late game, and you're like, well, if I can just get rid of that card for a turn, I'd win, then this is the card for you. So in the main deck, this card is probably like a D-, where, I mean, it's not too niche, but I just don't think it does enough really to impact the board. But in the sideboard, if you think this card will help you, I think it could help you a lot, making it probably like a C+. Yeah, I mean, it's just temporary removal, but sometimes that's all you need to close out a game. Next up, we have No One Ever Knew. Is a 2-costed event. For each friendly official unit, exhaust an enemy unit. I don't think it's going to be that hard to get officials on your board, but I don't know how good it is to exhaust a bunch of things on my opponent's board for a card and 2 resources. That's going to be pretty interesting. I think this card kind of fits the same boat as the last one. I think in a normal game, this card is going to just be bad. Like, I don't want to play a card to exhaust 1 or 2 units. I'd rather just play a strong card. Though, again, in certain situations, you might feel like I really need to be exhausting things, and maybe it'll help you win the race. But even then, it's still hitting that niche trait. So in the main deck, I think this card is an F. And I think in the sideboard, maybe you can find some uses for it, like a D+. But when I'm siding in D+ cards, I better be taking out like a different D card, right? Like this thing is just not doing it for me. Next up, we have the good guys. All right. Here we go. Time to look at the 2 worst leaders ever. We got C3PO, deploys on 4 resources. Hello, Sabine, but not. You are a 4-cost, 1/6 rebel droid. Wow, 1 attack on deploy. Pretty good. Must have a great effect, right, guys? On attack, if you control another exhausted unit, you may exhaust a unit. Cool. So I'm going to control my opponent with this 1/6. And I'm going to have more units. I'm going to be able to use this effect. God, is that bad. All right, let's read its non-unit side. Pay 1. If you control an exhausted unit, exhaust the unit. Man, they made this card, like, so bad. Like, I think they were scared that, like, if they didn't, you know, add all these restrictions, it would be good and constructed. But like because of all these restrictions, it is absolutely awful. Like so awful. These stats guys are so bad. Like terrible. And you can't be like, oh, I'll just run a bunch of upgrades and I'm just gonna upgrade my Cyborg and I'm gonna win the game. Yeah, that is not a viable strategy. This card is awful. I'm gonna give it an F. Another F leader. Wow, yellow's crazy. All right, next up we have Sabi, sorry. 5 costed 3/6 raid 1. So, you know, a little bit bad stats, but raid 1 kind of puts her in normal land. And then when this unit deals combat damage to a base, look at the defending player's hand. You may discard a card from it. If you do, that player draws a card. All right, so you're kind of like annoying them a little bit. You don't know if their card that they draw is going to be relevant. But obviously, you're going to take away the most relevant card that you see, which is a fine effect. And then on her non-unit side, it says, when a friendly unit deals combat damage to a base, you may exhaust this leader, look at the top 2 cards of their deck, and get rid of one of them. That's kind of annoying. I kind of like that effect, to be honest, because in these longer games, like how many times do you think you hit base? I don't know, 4 or 5 like turns of hitting damage, and then maybe you attack with her once. That means I got rid of like 6 cards from my opponent's deck. And if they're playing 30 cards, that means, you know, after, you know, what? How many turns is it? We start with 6, so 24. After, you know, turn 12, they're going to start taking damage. And if our game is going to turn 12, then, and they're still alive, then it's probably after turn like 11 or 10. I don't know. I'm just saying, and if my opponent's drawing cards, I'm just saying this card can end the game a little bit sooner in like a fatigue kind of style because I'm making my opponent discard cards from their deck. Do I think that this card's main purpose? No, but it's like the slight little upside that I think will definitely come up. Look around your games, you'll be like, damn, like you actually milled him out because you just lost. You know, it's like playing Vigilance and just losing 6 cards. Like that's what this leader does. But yeah, I mean, the stats are fine, and when you compare this to C3PO, it's completely unplayable. I think you have to be like, yeah, this is a playable leader. I mean, if you want to play yellow good guys, like, this is pretty much your only choice. DJA is not good, and C3PO is not good, and for some reason, they made this card the rare, though this is going to be very interesting to me. You look and you see, like, that this is complete dog water. This leader is all right, but a rare. So, like, what am I doing? Like, if I'm yellow good guys, I'm probably not a yellow leader, which means yellow's my supporting color. And I think that creates an interesting draft environment, kind of toxic, because it's sometimes hard to guess a player's secondary color as opposed to their primary. For me, this is like just breeds interesting conversations. And again, this card's hard to evaluate because she's like the only one that exists. But yeah, I mean, similar to what I gave the rating of the last one, I don't think she's as good as Sly Moore. I think she's like a C+. I think she's fine. She's playable. She does cute things. I don't know how impactful that is, how cute things are. But like I said, you could get into these situations that are impactful. But again, if you want to play yellow good guys and you open her, like this is the leader for you. Like you're getting a little trapped, which is scary. And then we look at this card, and then we're like, what the heck? Like, do they plan this? 2 mana, 2/4 Bail Organa, Republic Official, on attack. You may discard a card from your hand if you do create a spy token. Now, this is probably the strongest 2-drop that I've ever read. I like it more than 2 mana, 2/5. If you think about discarding a card, it's like a 2 mana, 2/6, but sometimes 4/6. This is like the best turn 1 in the set, I think. I don't think anything else compares. You can let me know in the comments below. But yeah, this is like the best turn 1 play we got. And it's like pushing the boundaries of the game. I don't think it's that bad to discard a card. In fact, I would discard a card twice, and I think you will a lot. I think you're going to get 2 spy tokens out of this guy. I think that's totally fine. We draw 2 cards a turn. You start with, 4 cards. Like, I can go down to a smaller hand size. I can see myself doing this card 3 times in a game. It's a little bit disgusting. This is going to be one of the first times I give it 2 an A. I'm going to give him, I think just a solid A. Like, literally, this card is just disgusting. I don't think it's fair to snowball turn 1s by just popping out a bunch of units just for the cost of a card. I think that's, like, totally reasonable. This dude is scary, and even scarier, it's an uncommon, and it's gonna be a supporting color card because my leader options are just not there. All right, next up we have Bravo Squadron Fighter, is a 2-costed 2/3 Saboteur space unit. Yeah, this guy fits the definition of playable. It has the stats. It's in space. Whatever its keyword is, whatever. And yeah, C. Put it in your deck. It's a playable. Next up, we have Junior Center, 2-costed 3/2 ground unit. When played, you may return an upgrade that costs 3 or less to its owner's hand. Nice. This guy is like a C+, B-, probably a C+ in the main deck. If I notice my opponent's playing a lot of upgrades, probably moves up a little bit to like that B- range. I mean, I like 2-mana 3/2s. Just be careful of those 2-mana 2/4s. You know, you will get value traded sometimes, but I also don't think my opponent's going to have a 2/4 all the time. I mean, if you do, like, now you see why they're so good, right? You see why this card is so good. Imagine being able to kill a 3/2 and make a spy token. That's dumb. And he's not done yet. He's not done. He's still going. But yeah, this card is definitely playable. I like that it can return upgrades. You know, you're going to punish your opponent sometimes, get rid of experience tokens and whatnot. Next up, we have Rebel Propagandist, is a 3-costed 2/4 Rebel official. This guy's definitely down bad on stats, but he has when played, when defeated, give another friendly unit +1 attack and Saboteur. So he immediately impacts the board in that way. You can make your Junior Center have 4 attacks, so he can take that value trade with the 2/4 and not get blown out. Yeah, this card is like fine. It's fine that it buffs something. I'm sad about its stats, but you know they're there enough that I think it's fine. And, yeah, another reason, there's 2-costed 2/4s now. Why are they giving me 3-costed 2/4s? Yeah, this card's just fine. It's playable. It's like a C, C-. Like, I'm not that excited about its effect, but you know it does impact the board in small ways. It's just stats are just bad. Next up, we have Taladurith. It's a 3-costed 3/3. I can get you inside. Imperial Rebel. Nice, another Imperial Rebel card. Each other friendly unit gains hidden, and it has plot. One of the coolest things about this card is that if you play it alongside your leader with plot, you just gave your leader hidden, and they can't attack your leader. That's pretty cool. Making my leader like invisible for a turn is pretty strong. A 3-costed 3/3, not really the stats I'm looking for, but not, you know, the end of the world. Sometimes it's the end of the world, though. Like I said, these stats matter, guys. If my opponent plays a 3/4 and I just played this 3/3, it's pretty bad. So and it says each other friendly unit, right? I think playing this card on curve, it's pretty bad. It'd be like a D. I'd want to cut it most of the time. Playing this card with plot, as long as I can play another thing alongside of it, think I'm going to feel pretty good about it. You know, a downside is my opponent could just attack this as soon as I plot it out, and then, you know, then attack my leader. But at least I'm making them, you know, spend all those actions. Yeah, I think she's like a C. I think she's playable with her plot effect. Next up, we got Blue Ace, Colorful Racer, 4-costed 4/5 Resistance Vehicle Fighter Space Unit with Ambush, on attack, ready, and exhausted enemy unit. This card's incredibly push in its stats, right? Like it's a 4/5 with Ambush and Space. That's going to feel really good. It's pretty bad to untap an enemy's dude, but if you guys are trading back and forth, and then you ambush their only unit that's in space, like its effect just, you know, whatever, does nothing. But don't forget that this card, you know, always untaps something. So, you know, we go to my next turn, my opponent deploys their leader. Well, I better attack with this card first, otherwise I'm going to untap their leader. They attack with their leader. Well, shit, I better gain initiative because otherwise I'm going to untap their leader next turn. Do you guys see what I'm going with? And that's just one card. And now we consider, you know, if I don't have initiative, I'm just untapping my opponent's best unit that already got to attack. So then maybe I have to wait to attack with this. So my opponent claims first. It's a really weird card. I think if your opponent has a lot of space units and you can't answer them, you're going to sideboard this card in. But I think it's a little bit scary to play in the main deck, kind of like Hauler was. You know, Hauler, similar thing, like a 4/5, but, you know, as soon as it dies, kind of in trouble. So I feel like it's very similar. This card can create problems where, like, I pretty much just can't attack with it. You know, but I also am playing this weird game with my opponent where, like, if they claim and I haven't attacked yet, well, shit, it's just free 4 damage. But can I really pass and then they'll just claim? Like, we're gonna get into too weird of games. This card is very punishing if you're not careful with it, and for that I'm gonna give it a D. Out of the sideboard, still want to say just a little bit like a D plus. This card has crazy stats. It's incredibly pushed. but its effect is really bad. Like, you don't want to untap dudes. Next up, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi, the complete opposite of what I just read. Good stats, good effect. 4-costed 4/5 ground unit, finding what doesn't exist, like good cards with good stats. You found it. A Force Jedi Republic. When this unit deals combat damage to a base, discard a card from the defending player's deck, and for this turn, you can play that card, and you don't care about its aspects. Nice. That's amazing. You play a Chili One Yeti, as I like to say, a Wampa. Wampa on curve is good, and you get an additional effect. That's solid. And I don't think stealing cards in this game is like A worthy, but I do think it's B. I think its stats put it in the C range, and its effect moves it all the way up to a B. I mean, I think it's nice that you could just like hit your opponent's bomb, and even if you can't play, you're like, gotta. Or, sometimes like you hit that 5-drop card, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. Here's my 5-drop now, I guess. I just think it's just nice, and it feels awful on the other side. That's really what it is. When your opponent attacks an Obi-Wan into your base and you lose the top card of your deck, you're probably always sad that no one likes losing their cards to your opponent. Next up, we have Emissaries from Ryloth. It's a 5-costed 4/6 ground unit Republic official. When played, you may give a unit -3, -0 for this phase. Its stats are, suited for a 4-cost, so I'm losing a little bit there. But it helps me maybe take a value trade if I have one. Like maybe my unit was going to die, but now it doesn't. Maybe I'm just saving 3 health that turn. You can kind of feel like it's a heal 3. This is usually when leaders start deploying, so I'm making my opponent's leaders super small. And then maybe I just summon my leader and hit it once. And now my leader took no damage, and their leader's half dead. That's kind of interesting. It has all these interesting things going for it. But again, its stats are a little weak. I'm just going to give it a playable C rating. Next up, we have Lightmaker. This is a legendary space unit, 5-costed 3/4. Has raid 4, and when defeated, choose an arena, exhaust each enemy unit in that arena. Here is another pushed space unit. I think swinging for 7 in space is kind of disgusting. I think its when defeated effect is pretty good. As long as they kill it anywhere near the start of the turn, you're going to get a lot of value just by tapping a bunch of dudes. I like this guy. Biggest problem, it only has 4 defense, so if my opponent does play any sort of Sentinel, I might lose my Lightmaker. I like having an opposite, like especially on the turn you play your leader, I like having, an opposite-sided, like this is in space, unit that can really pressure my opponent. 7, swinging for 7 is a lot. So I think in the main deck, this card is pretty solid. Probably at least like a B, B-. I think you should just always play it. Now, I can see myself siding this card out sometimes if my opponent has very good space units, because then I think I'm just going to get value traded and not going to be able to swing for 7, and that's going to feel really bad. Next up, we have Hunter, another good statted unit. He's an extraordinary tracker. He's a 6-costed 7/6 fringe clone unit on the ground with Saboteur. And on attack, if the defender is exhausted, it gets -4, -0 for this attack. Well, of course it's exhausted, bro. You're taking away its attack power. This guy has good stats. He ignores Sentinels, so he's great at closing out the game. And if you want to trade with him, well, he's going to make that thing really small if they already attack this turn. If they're like, God, I better attack with my, semi-big unit so it doesn't get, traded before I do damage. But then this guy just one-shots the thing and takes no damage back. And, kind of like that Han 1, like the ambush guy from set 1 territory. This guy's solid. I think that if I was playing yellow good guys, I would always put this in my deck. So I think it's like a B-. Again, it's not impactful the turn I play it, but yeah, these stats are nice. It has a cool effect. Next up, we have the Mandalorian, an 8-costed 6/8 cleaning up Navarro ground unit. Mandalorian Bounty Hunter has ambush, and when this unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may choose an enemy non-leader unit, and this unit captures it. An easy 2-for-1 a lot of the times. You take out a small unit, you take their biggest unit, and then you keep up that pressure all the time, right? My opponent has to be now very wary about playing small units alongside big units, because then they just lose their big units. And I feel like sometimes I can just get totally trapped by this guy. And just immediately losing 2 dudes right off the cuff is really annoying. Even if they remove your Mandalorian, unlike Cad Bane, he had ambush, so he came in and killed something already. So he did his job at taking some value trade, but he also just is cleaning up Navarro for us. So yeah, I like this card a lot. I think if you pull him, you're going to be really tempted to play yellow good guys. And for that, I'm going to move him all the way up to the A- tier. Don't think he's as good as Bail Organa, but I do think he's pretty strong. Next up, we have Stolen Star Path unit is a 1-costed upgrade +1/+1. Attach unit gains on attack, name a card. The defending player reveals their hand. For each card in their hand with that name, create a spy token. I think if you are not able to name a card in your opponent's hand, this card is an F. I think if you are able to name a card in your opponent's hand, this card is like a C. I'm just going to leave it at that. If you guys can name a card in your opponent's hand, this card is fine. If you can't, it's awful. Not going to say how you can do it. I don't care. You got some, X-ray goggles. Like I said, not going to say how. Faith in Your Friends is a 2-costed event. Search the top 3 cards of your deck for a card and draw it. Then you may disclose yellow, 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 white, white. That's crazy. If you do, create 2 spy tokens. I will say in the situations where you do disclose exactly that, this card is very good. Like a B, because 2 mana summon 2/02s with raid 2 are good. Like that would be a crazy effect to do turn 1. Not as good as Bail Organa, but pretty good. So maybe like a B-. But, big but here, I have a feeling that I'm going to play this draw card and not disclose yellow, 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 white, white. And if I'm playing 2 mana draw card, that's an F. I just personally would not play this card unless I was like an incredibly heavy yellow deck with a bunch of good guys in my deck. So this is like a huge deck building constraint. I think in a draft environment and you pick up one of these early and then you see a second one, you can be like, hey, I'm going to just, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to get more disclosed cards. I'm just going to be confident. There are good yellow-white cards. You could really go into that. I'm worried about that, guys. So in a sealed pool, pretty effy. In a draft pool, if you're able to find the payoff, find a lot of the cards, this would be your payoff. So I guess it's like a B- in that deck, but I just don't know if you can make that happen. But you maybe can, because people usually don't draft yellow-white right away because there are no good leaders for it. All right, next up we have Libertine is our only double yellow card, 4-costed 3/7 underworld vehicle transport space unit, getting some new ownership it seems. And this unit gets +1/+0 for each captured unit it's guarding. And when played, choose an enemy unit and a non-leader friendly unit. The enemy unit captures the friendly unit. Its effect is like straight up a downside unless you're playing DJ. And this card's weird to evaluate. So like in a DJ deck, this card is, I guess, like the reason you want to play DJ and you just want to make it work. I don't recommend going for that strategy because you have to play a bad leader, have a bad deck, and then hope to draw this card. Otherwise, we're not playing DJ and this card costs 6 and has a terrible stats for 6 drop and a terrible effect. If you're DJ, obviously this is the best card in your deck because it does exactly what you want. If you're not DJ, don't play this card. So don't play DJ either because he gave him an F. All right, so F is the rating we give this card. That makes sense. Next up, we have A-Wing. Another one is a 1-costed 1/2 space unit vehicle fighter with raid 1. This guy's all right. Like technically a 2/2 in space, which is fine-ish. Same ratings I've been giving my other ones. I think if you're this 1-drop aggro deck, if you can make that happen, this card's like a B-, C+. And if you're not, it's like a D+. I'd rather just play a better setted unit in space that costs 2. Next up, we have Skyhopper Canyon Runner. Kind of the same spiel. It's a 1-costed 1/4 ground unit fringe vehicle speeder with no text box. But I don't think I want to play a 1/4 at any point in the game. I don't have pilots to pilot this vehicle. Even if I'm an aggro deck, I'm not really excited about a 1/4 that does nothing. So I probably just don't want to play this. This card's going to be probably like a solid D, D-. If I have no other turn 1 plays, I'll just have to slot him in because at least he'll do 1 damage a couple times. But yeah, not exciting. Next up, we have Emissary's Sheathapid. Kind of looks like a Scorpio Pid, whatever. Anyway, it's a 2-costed 2/4 space unit separatist vehicle transport. When defeated, each opponent may ready a resource. I like 2 mana 2/4s. 2 mana 2/4s in space are pretty similar to a 2-3 just because of like how the Space Arena works. But yeah, that's like a solid playable. I actually don't think its win defeated effect is that much of a downside that we need to even worry about it. So I'm just going to keep it in that playable range and give it a C. Next up, we have Regulations Bureaucrat is a 2-costed 0-5 Imperial Official ground unit that says action, turn him sideways to exhaust a resource. So, I'm taking my turn 1 play off to hopefully have the initiative so that on my next turn I can tap him right away and make my opponent stay on 2 resources, which sometimes could shut down their whole turn. I mean, if they see this card, they don't have the initiative, and they drew a 2-drop, hopefully they're not resourcing it. But yeah, you can kind of shut down your opponent in this way. Now, you can do this throughout the entire game. It's a 0-5. It's kind of sticky and annoying. I think, personally, I'd rather just play on costed units. But, like, I think uncosted? Yeah, sure. I think if you're a control style deck, like, you're probably going to want them just to be messing with your opponent. But I don't know. This guy is super interesting. I'm like trying to envision how the gameplay around him will work. I actually do think this guy's kind of hard to remove. The only problem is I think the turn you use his effect, it's going to be really hard to get the initiative the following turn. I mean, let's say I exhaust a resource. My opponent attacks base. I play a card. My opponent plays a card. I claim. Maybe. I guess if my opponent then doesn't attack base, so that I'm healing a little bit, or this card, keep that in mind, just to make sure they claim initiative and they can play their 4-resource card. Like, that's actually pretty annoying when you say that out loud. I'm actually going to keep this guy in the playable range. Let's give him a C. I think that if you don't have, 2 4s going around, then a 0-5 that's super annoying for my opponent might just actually be good enough. Next up, we have Zen Nuas Shadow Fighter is a 2-costed 2/2 space unit with hidden. I don't think the hidden text is really that relevant here. You guys know I don't like 2-costed 2/2s. Now it is in space, so if you're dodging anyway, it probably doesn't matter. Like, if we're dodging, how much different is a 2/3 than a 2/2? Because if my opponent does play a spaceship, it's probably just going to be bigger than whatever I do. Yeah, I don't know. It's just fine. It's probably like a D+ because it's a space unit with bad stats, but... Yeah. Next up, we have Sequitro Visago. Sure. As a 3-costed 3/4 Underworld unit, business is what matters. And on attack, reveal the top card of your deck. An opponent may pay 1 if they don't draw that card. Solid stats, 3/4s get that C rating. And now my card is just drawing. Like, he's just drawing for me. My opponent's not paying 1. There's no way. So he's just on attack, draw card most of the time. Yeah, it's like a C+ probably, B-. Yeah, this guy's solid. Play him. B-. Good 3-drop. Next up, we have Ebon Hawk. Is a 3-costed 3/3 space unit, cause and effect, fringe vehicle transport. On attack, you may disclose good guy or bad guy. If you disclose good guy, this guy gets +2 for the attack. And if you disclose bad guy, give the defender -4 for the attack. I think you very much want this card in a good guy deck. I think swinging as a 5/3 for 3 resources is very strong. In a bad guy deck, this thing can obviously take trades, but, I don't really know with what. So, I think if you're going to play this card, I think you want him in a good guy deck. But I can evaluate that card either way, right? It's very versatile in that regard. A 3-mana 3/3 in space is totally fine. That's like a playable unit. I'm not, again, worried as much about the trading as I am about on the ground. But again, this thing can just, go in a different lane and hit him for 5 every single turn, which is a little bit disgusting. I think if I see this card, I'm always going to want it in my deck, and I'm going to give it a B-. Next up, we have Hired Slicer is a 3-costed 3/4 ground unit fringe. On attack, reveal the top 2 cards of a deck. If you do, you may exhaust a unit that shares a trait with one of those cards. Put those cards on the bottom of that deck in a random order. Sadly, does not keep the cards on top. Otherwise, we could have seen my opponent's cards. Yeah, this guy's kind of cool because he's a 3-mana 3/4, what makes him a C. And then all of a sudden, sometimes I get to exhaust a unit. I don't think the exhausting a unit will happen that often, to be honest. I'll just move it to a C+. Unruly Astromech is a 3-costed 3/2 droid ground unit with hidden. When defeated, exhaust an enemy unit. That when defeated effect nor the hidden are good enough for it having really bad stats. I don't think you should play this card in your deck. I'm going to give it a straight up D-. A 3-mana 3/2 is really bad, though it does have stats and some semblance of an effect. But yeah, don't play this card. Next up, we have Loan Shark is a 4-costed 2/5 ground unit, official with ambush and raid 1. So you play this and it kills something with 3 health or less, which is pretty nice. I like putting ambush cards in my deck, no matter, really anything. Sometimes ambush cards can feel like removal in the right circumstance, and it has enough health where I feel like it can attack something and then attack again in the future. I wish it didn't have raid 1 and was just a 3/5, but obviously it's just single yellow and it's a common, so how pushed can it really be? But yeah, I like this card. It's probably always making the cut. But yeah, like a C plus B minus range. Next up, we have Duchess's Investigators is a 5-costed 4/4 Mandalorian ground unit. When played, you can show your opponent a yellow card. If you do, each opponent discards a random card from their hand. I don't like 5-mana 4/4s, even for the off chance of hitting my opponent's 5-drop play. I think if it's your only 5-drop, then sure, throw them in your deck. I'm sure people are going to love this card. People just like making people discard. But I don't think it's very good. I think it's pretty cuttable. I'm going to give it a D. Next up, we have Vel Sartha is a 5-costed 4/6 Rebel ground unit. 1 path, 1 choice. This card has raid 2, so she swings at 6. And each exhausted enemy unit gets -2, -0 while defending. Okay, I like this card because she's like a leader killer that swinging for 6 kills a lot of the leaders in this set. So I like her for that. I like that she has an additional effect because not only does it work on her, but it works on your entire board. So now when you're attacking with your leader into exhausted things, you can really start taking value trades. Like if you play her and you're not even attacking with her this turn, and your leader and another unit can now attack into their leader that's already attacked, that's going to feel really good because you're not going to take that much damage back. This card's very solid. I like her a lot. I'm going to give her a B. I think you always put her in your deck. She seems like the 5-drop of choice. Next up, we have Sonara-san. Is a 7-costed 7/7. She's harboring a secret from the underworld, and she has hidden on attack for each friendly unit ready a friendly resource. She's a legendary. I don't think her effect matters. The hidden might matter a tiny bit. At the end of the day, she's just a 7-mana 7/7, and that's fine. Not very impactful, but I usually like putting a single 7-drop or 2 in my deck, and I think she makes the cut for that. She's just a playable C. Next up, we have Sneaking Suspicion. Finally getting into these upgrade cards is a 2-mana plot +1/+1. Outside of plot, this card is an F-. Inside of plot, it's an F- if it's the only thing you do. If you plot or play another card alongside of it that turn, then sure, it's fine-ish. Making your leader +1/+1 sometimes matters, and I can see a lot of people just like throwing this down because just adding initial stats to their leader from no cards in hand, feels fine. I really don't like this card. I think when you're plotting it, it's going to be like a DD+. I think if you have better plot cards, then you're going to cut this. So it's going to be cuttable in the plot category. If you don't have any other plot cards, then sure, this is going to be your plot card. All right, next up we have Special Modifications is a 2-costed upgrade +1/+3. Attaches to vehicle units, and when played, if the attached unit is a transport, you may create a spy token. After reviewing all the cards, I did look to see how many transports there are, and I don't think there is enough to merit this card. I also don't like giving 1 attack to a space unit. 3 health is whatever, because again, we're in space. My idea of space is I want to race my opponent, right? I'm distracting him with the ground, and I'm putting something in space that can just hit him turn after turn after turn. And if I have to take, half of my turn or all of my turn off to play this card to only give 1 attack and not even always summon a spy token, it's going to feel pretty bad. I'm going to give this card a D-, F+. I think we cut it. Actually, why did I even say D-? That is so generous. Like, this thing only goes on spaceships. Yeah, F+, yay. Next up, we have Accelerator Plans is a 1-costed event, and it's a plan. Yeah. Exhaust a friendly unit. If you do attack with another unit, it gets +3 attack for that attack. It's like a surprise strike that requires you to exhaust another unit, but it costs 1 less. This card's pretty bad. I don't really like pumps in general, and pumps where I have to exhaust another thing seems pretty bad. I guess like sort of the idea is I'm like turning my 2-drop into like an up trade, and it only costs 1 resource to do. But again, I don't think I want to do that. Rather just play something on curve. I'm going to give this card an F+. Next up, we have Catch Unawares, a 2-costed event. Attack with a unit. The defender gets -4, -0 for this attack. This card's like a discussion just waiting to happen. People are like, oh, it's kind of removal, right? Because you're not taking any damage back. I mean, wrong, because you made your unit do something different, right? It's not just straight up removal. And second, I have to have a unit that has enough attack to kill that unit in the first place. I need 2 things. I need 2 empty mana, because otherwise I want to be playing units. And that's now 3 things that I need to work out for me to want to play this card. That's way too many. I'm going to give it an F. Next up, we have Charge with Espionage. You may disclose yellow. If you do, look at an opponent's hand and discard a unit from it. I think if you didn't have to disclose, this card would be probably playable and fine, especially if you have the initiative, because you can take away your opponent's turn 1. But the fact that you need to show them cards, and you really only want to be playing this card in very specific moments in the game, I think it's pretty bad. I'm going to give it an F. Next up, we have Implicate. It is a 2-costed event. Choose a unit. For this phase, it gains Sentinel. And when this unit is attacked, create a spy token. I mean, this thing is pretty good on your leader. If your opponent has a lot of things going on and you're like, hey, my leader now has Sentinel. Also, every time you attack it, I'm going to make a spy. So this card is probably making, if my opponent needs to attack me, this thing is making multiple spies. I think this card's really good in the sense that if we're racing, my opponent either needs to take their whole turn off and just not attack my units, or they need to now kill a specific unit and give me a bunch of spies. I feel like your opponent most of the time is going to opt just to not attack you. It is not worth it. And a card that says, hey, my opponent won't attack me this turn, can be pretty good. Obviously, we're spending 2 resources for that to happen, but I'm okay with that with this card in certain builds. I think if you guys are playing standard Star Wars and you both just most of the time have like 1 unit on the board because there's a lot of trading going on, I call that standard, but when I watch a lot of people play, they're just like face, 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 face. And then if your opponent plays this card, you just instantly lose. That's why I don't like just going face, 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 because my opponent plays any card that's relevant at all, I like instantly lose the game. Especially when it goes on a leader, like I said, because can't really interact with the leader that much. I think, depending on who you're playing against and your type of deck, I think this card very good, like in the sideboard, like a C+, B-. I think in the main deck, pretty unsure. It's probably like a D. I think you can... I kind of like on-demand Sentinel just because in some points in the game it's just going to make you win, especially in racing situations. So, yeah. We have Krea's Whispers, is a 2-costed event, Force Learned. Draw 3 cards, then put a card from your hand on top of the deck, and then another one on the bottom of the deck. So 2 mana to draw 1 card, but selectively. Even if you kept 2 cards, I'd probably still give this thing an F. Next up, we have Beguile. It's a 3-costed event trick. Look at an opponent's hand, and then do nothing with that information. And then choose a non-leader unit that opponent controls that costs 6 or less and return it to its owner's hands. Bounce effects, if you guys don't know, are pretty strong. In Legends of the Forest, people are playing that 4 resource yellow card that bounce things out of Aspect. They're willing to pay 6 resources to bounce something. Yes, it could make your opponent discard, but they're not playing it for that reason, I promise you. It's nice to have Waylay type effects going around. Cost 6 or less is pretty inclusive, like that's most things and most times of the game. And you get like this little bit of upside, I guess, of information. This thing's totally fine. I can see this card being played out of Aspect. It's the type of thing that I'd always want in my deck as like a fail-safe and as like a punish for when my opponent plays upgrades. So I'm going to give it a solid B-, maybe even B, because I can see this card being an out of Aspect include. Next up, we have Bogged Down in Procedure. It is a 3-costed event. Exhaust a unit, show your opponent yellow card, exhaust another unit. This card's way too expensive for what it's doing. Again, exhausting 2 units for 3 resources is not great. I already talked about the official card where I was like, hey, I think we'll have a bunch of officials, and I still don't really want to play this card. So I'm going to give this card an F. Next up, we have The Wrong Ride. Almost done, guys. It is a 3-costed event. Exhaust 2 enemy resources, and it has plot. So you're kind of hurting both you and your opponent's turn. In a really aggressive deck, and you flip your leader first, and you just... ruin their turn. That can be pretty good. Obviously, I would never play this card from my hand. or I never would want to. I'd rather just, you know, I guess you can say, so on 3 resources, if you have the initiative and you play this, you probably just turned off your opponent's turn as well. But you spent a card and they didn't, and you had to have the initiative. That just doesn't really seem good to me. And even from plot, while it could like curve fill your plot and maybe disrupt your opponent's plot, I don't really like it. I'm going to say it's an F playing it without plot and like a D playing it with plot. I think if you don't have many plot cards, then you'll play this because you want to disrupt your opponent, you know, trying to utilize their stuff. And I think this is the last card. We have Undercover Operation. Is a 3-costed event. Ready a unit that was played this phase. If it costs 3 or less, create a spy token. 3 resources to create a spy token, not great. Readying a unit that was played this phase is really hard because I have to pay 3 resources for this. I feel like it's like a Sly More card, and then all of a sudden I'm spending my entire turn to create a spy token, create another spy token, and then untap one. Yeah, that doesn't sound very good to me. I'm gonna give this card an F. And yeah, so this video was wild, guys, because these beginning cards were super strong. I felt like yellow had really, really strong cards. And then we noticed at the end that they're just down bad. So are they really good or are they down bad? You guys tell me in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Deuce. Peace.